to the 90s internet. I think it's a perfect way of examining the ideal of trust of the user and the net itself. Let's look at the players. So, the players are usually people who surf the internet. They put their information in. If they buy online, especially modern day, you have a certain amount of trust. If you put your credit card on there, you expect that it to be protected or to get some coverage or insurance if something happens. And sometimes that happens and sometimes it doesn't. It really depends on the experience, which is kind of aligned with the fool or the trickster energy. Sometimes you play a trick and you win. Sometimes you play a trick and you lose. Somebody has to play the fool on one of these tries and one of these probabilities, on one of these events. That's just how it is. There's always a certain amount of risk available. And if you haven't seen a lot of this, they usually try to get the user to say, oh, you got to protect this and protect that and don't give out this. Just try to push the responsibility onto the user itself. But the user can only access the interface that is in front of them. They don't have a back door. Of course, there are hackers who have back doors, and in the film Hackers, you experience, if you follow the story, the idea of a story driven hacking a situation. And it's very clear that there's always risk to those who make decisions to do that. And that's all I'm going to say about that film. What happens when you trust ideas that are given to you and not apply, how do I say, critical thinking? Well, you get something like English majors who love William Shakespeare and really believe, and it's a belief system, even though there's evidence of otherwise, that he wrote all those plays and that it came from him and that his work is original and that there's no possible way that he was used as a way of creating a story or culture. Even though if you ask them about, let's say, the system that of state government or whatever that was put in place, do you trust these people? Sometimes they will say, especially in America, they'll say no, but they do trust that all the works of William Shakespeare is truly his. Clever enough, the sonnet that I like, which is 123, talks about time being very deceptive. And it talks about they are of a former sight, meaning that this is the same old thing over and over again, but it's being repackaged. And that Shakespeare is saying, I'm not falling for it because I am neither nor the present nor the past. I am neutral, which is what I always say about people who take an anthropological view to happenings and ideas and concepts, that archetypes or players come onto media or come into environments promising new and improved things or changes. You have to really pay attention to who you are entering your agreements with, and that includes being on the internet. Okay, I talked about pattern recognition and how pattern recognition works in a computer, where you can embed pictures within pictures, codes within codes. Now, William Shakespeare works you can apply ciphers to, and it breaks down to point back to other works of art. Works of literature, mathematically. But those who love him still believe that these things do not count against his work and that his work is solely his, and nothing of the sort of anyone, it could even be a possibility of that. So they don't even entertain the ability that perhaps it was. They just say always that he created it and it's under his name. Okay, so in this movie, which is a Robert Redford movie, and he plays a guy who basically was at the right time out of a place, his workplace, because assassins came and killed everyone but him, but they're still after him. And he finds a woman who helps him get in contact with a person that basically helps him get out of the situation and get rid of these people who are manipulating the system. Okay? Why do I say that? Well, it's about trust, and there's also patterns in this movie that you can break down. And so happened that the character himself looks for ciphers in books. Very interesting. Let's get into the Louvre, the theft. The Louvre. The Louvre was robbed or knocked over, whatever you want to call it, a couple of weeks ago. It's not the first time that people have stolen great works of art. And we all know that the only real people that would be really, really interested in stealing great works of art are literally two kinds of people. They're doing it for the thrill, which is a game. They have enough of the admin keys to understand how the game works. Somebody will take the fall for it. And three, literally somebody wants it and it's in their house somewhere. I mean, I don't know how, people don't understand it. Money can only buy so much. Once you get money, you begin to get bored with the world around you. And if you are very comfortable in this world, you know that there's a game afoot and you want to sort of push the buttons. So you start to manipulate things and you start to perhaps be the Joker. Who knows? So in a great train robbery, there's a scene where they have to find these keys, and the keys are in physical places. The digital keys, if you look at the hackers, these are the same concepts, different environments. The physical keys are these men, and they must navigate society, high society, low society in order to get the keys. Hackers navigate the net in order to get the keys to get to information, okay? They can also be considered equilibrium to certain people because to them, they are supposed to be the ones guarding and watching the watchmen, right? They're supposed to have enough of the keys to keep in check the, let's say, unseen forces that may seek to manipulate the net. So that is part of the cybernetic equilibrium, right? Now, in this movie, when you talk about pattern recognition, she works for the insurance company. You know about insurance and probability. I don't know if you ever got into that math. She makes a psychological profile, and she's also viewing videos and things like that of what happened. And she sees things that the police cannot see. And institutions like the police or people who are trained in a certain way to look at things often are trained through what I call vectors, which basically means they have a characteristics of things. If you've ever watched, oh my God, what is that movie? The X-Files. That's an example of an institution that when they go in and investigate something, they investigate it with a model. They go in, they look for certain patterns, and if the patterns are not showing up that there's something is there, it doesn't exist. Sometimes I'll have someone like Fox Mulder or whatever his name was to go in and investigate something outside of the box. But just because he says that something is there doesn't mean that it's going to go into the real files. Those X-Files can be burnt. They can be said that there's fabrication or that it was just a way of redirecting perhaps something going on internally in that department. They can say whatever they want to say when it comes to that. They're not openly teaching everyone to be Fox Mulder. Okay? These people have to stand outside of the vectors of the models in order to even see the patterns. Okay? Now, he, just like this guy, gets away with it or gets out of the bad situation because he's able to use psychological manipulation to basically get her not to turn him in because she could have. She chose not to. So sometimes hackers do the same thing. When you look at cybersecurity, they can go through other people in order to get a job done. Now, if you looked at the video, I don't know if I'm just going to be before or after of the usual suspects, you can see a example of a human that is fabricating a persona that the viewer is willing to invest in and believe in. And on a subconscious level, he's pulling things from the environment. Now, in the back of that detective's mind, he probably knows that these things exist in reality, but they are displaced on a subconscious level. It doesn't kick in until later. Okay? By that time, like tokens, time, password times, all that other stuff, that stuff is all gone because he realizes too late. Just like the statute of limitation with the people who stole um, the Vermeer paintings in the 90s. Even if they have the information, they can't pursue it because the statute of limitations is over. So you might have cracked the code, but sorry, you're a day late and $1 short. I hope you guys like the movies I presented here. This is the Thomas Crown Affair. This is The Great Train Robbery by Michael Crichton. And this is Hackers. You can look at Othello if you like. I think the Cypher way is a little bit different way of looking at it. You know, some people are a bit crazy and kind of out there, but it's easy to prove that there is, other works that basically was just rewritten. But anyway, it is what it is. I hope you enjoy and you have fun learning about computers, psychology, game theory, and all the cool players in the game. Bye.